every podcast I start off with a Bible verse. Today's verse led me to Romans 7:15. The Word of God states, "I don't really understand myself, for I want to do what is right, but I don't do it. Instead, I do what I hate, which is sin." Right? And so the verse on the top says, "Struggling with sin." So I thought it was just a good kind of Bible verse because I feel like that's how kind of piggybacking off of the first three. I feel like it kind of came down to like one was about kind of faith, right? And then the other one was about judgment. And then I felt this is kind of a little bit of both, right? Because I know I'm like that all the time. I do stuff that I don't want to do, right? And I go back to it, right? But so with that being said, why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience? And you guys are episode 4.
My name is Adam Plascencia. I'm a junior in high school. I go to Buchanan High School.
And I'm his dad, Mario Plascencia. So been buddies with Louis now since high school.
Yeah, no, it's been a little hot minute. I remember you came in from. It's funny because you came in from Faribault.
Yeah.
And now you live in Faribault now, so it's kind of
full circle.
Full circle, yeah.
And we hated each other when we were rivals.
Yeah,
a little bit.
That's a different story. Start off kinda. But yeah, no, thank you guys for coming on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So Adam, real quick, just to kind of you introduce yourself and everyone kind of knows. This podcast is going to be mainly based around you, right? We'll throw in some stories here, but I didn't want to start the podcast off first story about me and your dad and reminiscing on our days, which is fun and great, right? But I want to focus more on you, and I want to kind of like let the audience know the kind of the come up, right? So you came from Mendota,
Right.
mainly, right? So
Yeah.
when did you transfer to to go to a Clovis school? And then obviously you being at Buchanan now, let the audience know you spent your first 2 years of your high school career elsewhere, right?
Yeah.
So why don't you just break it down from junior high and to where you're at today?
Right. So we moved to Fresno in 2022, 21, right before my 8th grade year.
Okay.
So we moved into Fresno hoping to go to Alta Sierra, which is the middle school for Buchanan.
Okay.
I always wanted to go to Buchanan because my older cousin played at Buchanan. So
Who's your older cousin?
Max Bernal. He plays at Pepperdine right now.
Oh, nice.
He's tearing it up.
Shout out Max Bernal.
Oh, yeah. So, but unfortunately where we moved, we didn't know that the border to go to Buchanan was across the street.
Oh, shoot.
So I got stuck at Kasner, which is Clovis West Middle School.
Okay.
So, and we put in a transfer to go to Alta, and it got denied. So I got stuck on campus at Kasner, and one of my travel ball coaches that coaches at Clovis West was on campus and saw me. And he had me just talk to me, built a little more of a relationship. And I ended up staying there for the time being and didn't really force moving schools, and ended up going to Clovis West my freshman year. And fortunately enough, I was able to play on varsity as a freshman and start. So, like, to us, there was no need to go to Buchanan. Like, I was starting, I was doing what I wanted to do, so we were comfortable. And freshman year was good. We had a good group of seniors that were leaders. Caden Munster went to Fresno. He's at Fresno State right now, tearing it up. He was our captain. He was my guy. So, just having a guy like that, like, wanted me to stay, or like had me build relationships with him. Juniors, Tyler Patrick, he was a junior at the time. He's at Fresno State right now too. So just guys like that, leaders, kept me where I wanted to be. I didn't want to go anywhere else. And sophomore year, I had a big jump, took over a bigger role, and we were balling out. We did really good.
You guys kind of went to the Valley title game.
Yeah. We ended up, we got hot at the end of the season, made it to Valleys. Unfortunately, we came up short, but...
Yeah, who'd you guys play in the Valley?
Liberty from Bakersfield.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then they're usually, obviously in the Valley, they're pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Are they good this year?
They're all right,
They're all right, okay.
Yeah. They lost a lot of seniors last year, so...
Okay, so then now take us, because now we're pretty much your sophomore year, right?
Right.
We're at Clovis West.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of take us to the moment you realize that, hey, I'm thinking I might go to Buchanan, or I'm going to go to Buchanan.
Right. So, just after that season, it was heartbreaking, just trying to come back from that. And it didn't really feel like the the energy and the effort was kind of there, and like from everybody, including myself. Like I didn't feel the motivation, and I just felt like it was good for a fresh start. Just
Yeah, it's always good for a reset.
oh yeah, and well, Buchanan actually got their old head coach back, Brad Fonts. So that was pretty exciting. That was me and my dad would joke around about it, like it would be pretty cool to go play for him.
Mm-hmm.
And
So he's the coach right
yeah,
now.
he's the head coach right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And obviously, you're praising him a little bit now, so you love playing for the guy.
Oh yeah, it's a blast. He great communicator, great coach, knows how to win. He installs that mindset of you play for the brand, you play for Buchanan, that be on your chest. So it's a blast.
Awesome. That's good. Okay, so then pretty much did you transfer? You start your junior year at Buchanan then?
No, so I started at Clovis West.
Okay.
Did the whole fall at Clovis West, and we ended up moving in December. So I started at Buchanan second semester.
Okay, so you started this January then?
Yeah.
Okay, and then how's that transition been as far as Clovis West to Buchanan?
It was a little rough in terms of being able to get onto the field and play. Obviously, going through all CIF and all that, trying to make it work. But now it was in terms of adjusting to like players and teammates and coaches. It was really easy for that. The guys accepted me. Great teammates. Like that's my family. Those are my guys.
Yeah, that's always nice when it's always like a smooth transition.
Oh yeah, coaches, took me in real easy.
Because I mean, kind of to not hype you up, but hype you up, right? Give you a little praise. You made a first team All State as a sophomore, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so man, you go first team All State, and then your junior year, you decided, now you're a Bear.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so man, well, good luck to you. Obviously, you don't need luck. Obviously, coming from faith based, right?
Right.
But,
yeah.
You'll be blessed, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, I know. And so, Dad, do you want to chime in on anything as far as how the transition had to go, or anything you want to say about that, or as far as I know you coming from Mendota? I think we even had internal conversations about possibly going back to Mendota your junior year. Was that even on the table at all, or was it always going to be I'm going to stick at regardless D1?
For me, I thought so. Yeah,
Okay.
I know.
I know, like your boys over there this year, right? Or most of them are seniors.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I think if they would have had AP on that squad, I mean, who knows? I mean,
I was definitely trying to influence that a little bit, get him back home. I thought maybe, obviously, the goal for him, is to continue to play baseball for as long as possible.
yeah.
We believe, that Lord willing, he's talented enough to do so.
Yeah, for sure.
So, we thought, man, if things were to work out to where like he would have been committed to a college by that point or whatever, like before his junior year, we joked around that at that point, like the pressure was off to, have to work like to earn that.
Yeah.
And so, obviously I love, the hometown, the small town thing. So I was always like, yeah, you could go back and play with the boys, go back and,
Yeah, I know. I think
be one of, Mendota's.
they have a pretty good squad this
Great.
year,
Oh yeah.
I think adding you would have been, obviously you have a better chance, right? You get a first team All State kid as a sophomore coming in your junior year, so you would think adding that to your lineup is going to be great regardless, right? And you pitch, so you can do kind of both things.
Right.
So that would have been a good thing, right? I met Dr. Lopez's boy the other day, B-Lo. They came and got an oil change.
Oh, okay.
So he was telling me he throws 85. That's what you throw, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
so that's not, right, dude. The thing I tell about people is like pitchers, at least, right? When I coach and I taught, obviously nowhere near the level you've been at, right? But just talking baseball with the guys, right? I've always said Greg Maddox threw 85.
Yeah.
Bro, one of the best pitchers ever, right?
Mhm.
And it's about where the ball placement. You could throw 93. Like you said yourself, Dad, if they know a fastball's coming, you're at the level right now where they can hit a fastball.
Oh yeah.
So 93 is not going to necessarily be like as effective.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, and once again, no disrespect to no divisions, but you go to a smaller division, right? They don't play as much baseball as you. Not as year round, right? Because coming from a small town, we know that you're borrowed. You're a borrowed athlete, bro. Hey, I need you for baseball. I need you for basketball. I need you for right. And it's like, if they could use you in probably every sport, right? Hey, man, Adam, blah, blah. So I think when you get to a certain division in a certain sport and you're really good at it, I think it's just right. You're just dedicated to that sport.
Yeah.
So obviously, that would have been kind of cool to see, go back to Mendota and fulfill it, and maybe win a ring, but still we're rooting for you, over there in Buchanan, and I know that you're doing pretty well, right? This year you're having a pretty good junior year.
Yeah, team's been doing really well.
Okay, what's your guys' record right now?
18-3. I think so. 19-3.
19-3. Damn. Are you guys number one in the division?
Yeah, we're number one in the Valley right now. So looking to keep that for the rest of the season. I know the guys are just and good thing about it is it's not like we're like playing for ourselves or nothing. Like we're together, man. It's like it's a great group of guys. I would fight for every single one of those guys.
You know what we could do is we could probably introduce in season 2 of Insidethepodwlou. Maybe next time you could bring some of your teammates on.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
And then we could.
I know they'd love to
Chop it up. We could at least bring 2 of them.
There's some characters on that.
It's my thing is like this. Everyone's like, what are you gonna podcast about? What are you gonna And it's this. It's putting this out there. You're not just like everyone thinks, well, you're a big podcast, bro. It's a big land. In a fishing aspect, I caught a good one. And to bring you on and just kind of let you, the topics I kind of went over with you and we're gonna talk about is just stuff that is not every day. Especially for not just around the valley, but especially like Mendota Fireball, right?
Yeah.
Tranquility, Dos Palos. I feel like the thing that I want to do soon, hopefully with the West Side, is I want to just bring stuff like that, man. Maybe down the road, if you do get into wherever God blesses you, right? Let's just say it's Fresno State, and then maybe you're local, right?
Right.
And if I were to be in a certain situation, bring you on for a baseball camp, have some of your guys that want to come on. Maybe the podcast gets a little bit bigger.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we can make an event. There's so many different things that can happen, right? And I feel like it's just where your heart is, and you can kind of go over that because you've been in it. Didn't you try out for U.S. baseball to represent the country at your age group? That's a pretty big accomplishment, And I think you were in the final final 20.
Yeah.
Only 12 kids made it. Bro, that's the world. That's not the valley or the state. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, once again, don't want to hype you up and make you get a big head, but it's just about sharing your accomplishments and just know, like, hey, once again, baseball is a game of failure. So you're going to fail, right? But it's about the mindset. I feel like your father brings a great mindset to you, right? Your grandfather and just, obviously coach, right? And that matters, So I think you'll be good. And like I said, obviously I'll always keep you in prayer, but keep it up, Sure. Everyone's rooting for you, I know for sure, like I could say Fireball Mendolians for sure,
We get a lot of people that pop in, and they're always, obviously I do most of the posting like on social media of like his highlights and stuff like that. It's just kind of been a thing where we don't, I don't know, I never really wanted or liked the idea of him like putting himself out there.
Yeah.
To, kind of look at me. So I try to take that pressure off of him and just, it comes from me, instead of coming from him.
Yeah.
But it's kind of nice to have, like all the support and all the feedback. People are always showing love on social media through, whatever it is I post, hitting videos, pitching videos, whatever. The other day he made a nice diving play.
I know, I got a phone call about that catch. Yeah. And one of my buddies is like, hey, I was like, yeah, his dad showed me. I saw it. Nice little play.
Yeah. So, when the opportunity presents itself, we try to put him out there for everybody to kind of see and be able to keep up with what he's doing. And it's nice, you get people from everywhere, Fireball, Mendota, all throughout the valley, even Clovis West, like all the parents that we're still really close with and stuff like that. Like they, showing them love.
Yeah. I mean, and kind of gonna touch on it, not to get too like pushy, but how was that? Like obviously leaving Clovis West, you guys were just in the valley and now you transferred to Buchanan. Like are they still cool with you over there? Or is it still like love? Is there a little bit of, how you just played them, right?
Yeah.
And how did that go?
It was fun. I enjoyed going back and playing against my guys. I always thought that kind of took the pressure off of the game a little bit.
Yeah.
People think it adds on to it, but I think playing against familiar faces on the field makes it like you realize it's just a game. And
then you guys played over there, right?
Yeah, we played 2 over there and 1 at home.
Oh, okay. So I mean that you've been there for two seasons, so pretty much still feels like home. I'm pretty sure.
Felt comfortable in the box. So
yeah, They give you a lot of like. Did you receive love? Like, did you feel like when they came, did everyone?
Yeah. My boys, they still reach out. We still talk, but obviously there's gonna be a little bit of joking around here and there. But man, it's all love.
Did you
Those
pitch
guys
against them or no?
No, I didn't
okay.
throw. No.
But you hit pretty well.
Yeah.
One game you had, like, I think I saw your dad post some highlights. Yeah, you did pretty well, right?
Yeah.
It was like a close game, no?
Yeah, he broke a 4-4 tie later in the game. I think it was like the bottom of the 6th or something like that, and bases loaded, hit a double to the wall. So that was a big hit.
Cool. Well, okay, so what I want to jump into too now is like kind of breaking down your accomplishments, right? First team All State. But I think you just recently, like was it the year, like the year and a half, 2 years ago maybe, you went to the Dominican?
Right, yeah.
Was it that a year ago or when was that?
Yeah, it was 23.
23, so almost going on 2 years.
It was like a year and a half. It was late in 23.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so why don't you let us know, bro? Like the Dominican Republic, bro. Like that's like a big thing. Like how was that?
Man, it was a blast. We stayed on a resort, not in like town really. So the only time we really experienced like the Dominican was driving and being able to like see out the bus and stuff. So, but man, it was fun. Building bonds with guys from all over the country. There's
And the age group was what? Was it a certain age group? Because I think you played above your age group, right?
Yeah, it was sophomores, juniors, and seniors.
And you were a freshman at the time.
I was a sophomore.
Oh, you were a sophomore. Okay.
Yeah.
There was a few. Yeah, there was like 3 or 4 handpicked sophomores, but most of the teams were juniors and seniors.
Okay. And then it was like, so you went with did you go with the travel team or how did you get there?
So it was actually through an organization called Future Stars.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been kind of in their organizations since my 8th grade year.
Okay.
I went to a tryout, and from a tryout you go to the next stage, and it's like so on till you get to top the main event. And I've been fortunate enough to build a relationship with the founder of the organization, and he's grown fond of me, and it's a great guy to have in your corner.
Yeah.
And
so that was the team that you ended up going Future Stars with to Dominican.
Right, yeah.
And then so just kind of as far as sense as you're playing with all the best players in the world at that point at your age group or juniors and seniors. So how was that, dude? How did you do over there?
I mean, I did pretty good. It was fun. I like competing, so like playing against those guys, it's always fun. The guys from the Dominican were really good. Some guys that were like 15, 16 getting signed right there. Like it was sick.
Really?
Yeah. It's pretty tight.
Wow. That is pretty cool. And then I'm going to touch on another thing. I know that you just recently, within the last few months, visited Fenway.
Yeah.
And how was that? Was that what through Future Stars as well? Or?
It was. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
Future Stars. You went over there for like a tryout for something, or was that just something that Future Stars put on and then you win? Or
so every year they have like a regional tryout thing where you go like say North California. They have one in every state, so you go there, and then if you make it from that, you go to the next one, which is I think that year was Tennessee,
mm-hmm.
And then
Vanderbilt.
Yeah, Vanderbilt, and then after that, if you get selected or picked, you go to Fenway. So they've taken me everywhere.
They do. So they have like a regional and then a national combine, and then you get selected for the main event. And they take like the top 50, 60 guys. So yeah, when he was an 8th grader going into his freshman year, he made what they call the Fresh 50, which at the time was for freshmen and sophomores. So for him to be a freshman and make that, Fresh 50, that was actually a pretty big accomplishment because he was a freshman in that group, and he had to go play at the University of Arizona. And that's kind of where he like just came on the scene a little bit with Future Stars. I think that's kind of where they, they got a feel for him. Mm-hmm. And then the following year they split the Fresh 50. So they did one for freshmen and for sophomores and for juniors and for seniors. And so then he did the sophomore one. And he played at the University of Vanderbilt there. That was the main event was hosted there. So he was able to work his way up to the main event in his sophomore year. and then this last year, the main event was held at Fenway. So, sorry about that.
You're good.
So,
You're excited.
so he worked his way through the process and then earned an invite to Fenway, the juniors main event.
So you're playing with all these big stars, bro. Seems like around the world, right?
Right.
And you're in your junior year at the probably what you would say the baseball team to play for, D1, right?
Yeah.
How's like the college offers looking? Like how's that been for you? How's the scouts been? Have they been coming at you? Has it kind of been a conversation, or what's that like?
Honestly, it's been a little slow.
A little slow.
Yeah. Most I've gotten is a little bit of local stuff, some text messages here and there, but nothing official yet, you know. Still waiting on God's timing, still being patient, you know, trusting in him. And I know when the time comes, it'll.
Do you have like a preference, or is it, do you want to stay local and be with mom and dad, or do you want to go out and venture off? And,
Nah, I don't care.
Or you just kind of whatever comes?
Yeah, whatever's best fit, whatever.
You know, I do like how you touched on God's timing, and that will let me tie into this next verse. It's been a verse I've said, I think, all 3 podcasts, and it's Isaiah 60:22. So when the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen, you know? So obviously you've already kind of got that in your heart and in your spirit. So I think you just keep that up, and in time, you know, God will reveal for you your plan, you know, and I think it'll be a very good one, you know. Obviously, we'll be a fan, bro, and we're starting fresh here, you know. It's recorded, so when you do make it to the pros, you know, keep an eye out for your boy one time, you know. Hopefully by then I'm podcasting, you know, and I can always be like, you know, hey, that if I get, my thing is, if I do get big, I'll manifest it, right? When I get big, you know, no, I'm not gonna be cocky, but if the Lord allows, right. I don't want to forget local talent. You know, I want to come back and make sure that's the whole point of this. Yeah. You know, I want to. There's a lot of you're a Mendo kid, right?
Yeah.
And so when I say that, is like you were branded, you were raised, you drank the same water me and him did. Yours they'll be a little filtered, you know, but it's like you were there, bro. Same rules applied, same parks, same stuff, right? Same people,
right?
And look what you're doing now. So I feel like as long as someone can go and at least let the Mendota kids know, let the West Side kids know, like, hey, no, dude, like you can go do it. Not saying that they don't know now, but just another voice to be like, no, you can do it.
Right.
And not only the fact that you can do it is that you can have and I'm going to tie my story back into this whole thing. Like this wouldn't all be possible if I wouldn't have had a failure. You know, fail, but it comes back to baseball, right? Yeah. 7 out of 10 times. And I think when you go to the Lord, we're going to fail multiple times, right? And I think I saw a verse today is that, I think before you guys came, I was in the garage and it was like, there's nothing you can do. It's all through God's grace, right? You can give 100% effort or do the best deeds in the world or be the best baseball player in the world. And if you don't have God, bro, you don't got nothing.
Right.
You know? So I just think it tied into the kind of the conversation at least. And yeah, no, I don't want to talk too much about me. I want to talk more about you. But it just kind of was cool to think like maybe one day, you know, we can give back, right? But I think you're just a really great story because you represent at the end of the day Mendota, you know, small town, and a lot of and not saying there's never been no one that's ever made it out of Mendota, because there has been, right? There's some athletes that we can put out there and they've done it. They did a big documentary, bro.
Yeah.
You know, and then obviously you got Josh Allen here in Farball.
Yeah.
So that's another big one, right? And I just think that, you know,
shout out Danny Trejo.
About to say that.
That's my boy.
Oh yeah, in soccer, yeah.
Tearing
so
it up.
I don't know him personally, right? I mean, hopefully he watches this and maybe he'll come on the podcast and
it's big, bro. So
yeah, okay. Maybe we can throw a little shout out, you know, to Danny, and then he might catch wind, and who knows?
Yeah,
bring him on. And
I got to coach him a little bit when he was in junior high. He was playing basketball, and he would actually. He'd be like, "Hey, when's Adam playing football?" And he would come to Adam's football games and stuff. Just come hang out and stuff. So
that's cool.
You know, it's pretty cool to, like you said, have big bro. You know, we went to go watch him play. Adam had a tournament in Vegas. We played in a tournament out there, and at the time he was playing for their FC LAFC affiliate, which was the Las Vegas Lights.
I think so.
And
you guys were just in Vegas at the time?
Yeah. We were
for baseball.
He was out there playing a tournament, and I hit up Danny and I was like, "Hey, bro, we're in town. Like, I saw you guys have a game." And he was like, "Oh yeah, I got you tickets. You know, I got you tickets. Pull up. We'll take care of you." So we got to talk to him like on the field after the game and stuff. So that was pretty cool, you know.
That's very cool.
Mendota kid,
Yeah.
know? So that was something for me. Like we were talking about him this morning on the way to church.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, dude, when you watch that kid on camp, like as a high school kid, like you could just see he was on a different level mentally. Like he wasn't playing games. Like you know, he didn't do, you know, like a lot of the things that kids were doing, extracurricular activities and stuff like he was locked, bro. Like anybody who went to school with him or was around him at that time, like you knew that kid was going to do something because he was just so zoned in. And so I always make the comparison for him, you know, and it's nice, like you said, to give back. Like that's Danny giving. Mm-hmm. His story alone is already giving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because now I'm telling my son, like, hey, you want to be like him. Like we have a local kid that you want to be like, not somebody that we have to talk about from stories we've heard on TikTok or, you know, other places. Like, no, we have a hometown dude, you know, Josh Allen, obviously another story.
Yeah.
So it's nice, you know, to have those guys to be able to look back on.
Yeah. Cause Alyssa has, just kind of talking about people, right? Her cousin is like really good friends with Josh Allen. So I was gonna like maybe put an Allen jersey and then have him sign it.
Oh, that'd be
put it on. And then I kind of have ties through work, through his parents and his uncle. I just hooked up the uncle with his car, you know. So I had told him, I was like, hey, he's like, get me down to this price, Louis. And I was like, I didn't want to, you know, manipulate him for an autograph on, you know, pricing, but I was like, no, I'll take care of you. You know, at the end of the day, like once again, I feel like I don't know anything about cars, right? But the Lord has me at a spot where I run it, you know, for cars.
Yeah.
But it's the conversations. I might have a couple people that I met that might come on the podcast through there. So I feel like everything's always intentional, right?
Oh,
so,
yeah.
But no, that's kind of cool. There was a young, I have to show you the picture later because we're recording on my phone, but I found a guy that looks like you, bro, the older version of you. Huh? You remember we met him at Target?
We saw him at Target.
I took a picture. I should have sent it. He should have showed you. You should show him. You might have it.
You didn't send me a picture of him.
I did. I put it in the group.
Did you?
Yeah, I go.
Oh, yeah. I did get it.
Yeah.
I did get it. Yeah. And then we randomly ran into it. We were together. We went to Target and we ran into him and he was like, that's AP. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah. The guy was like, he told me I look like your son, bro. So
he was all happy too.
What's up? He was like, yeah, apparently I look like your son.
Yeah, dude. Sometimes I use you as a starting point and a sale. Really? Like if I see baseball, I'm like, hey, my boy's son travel, you know, AP, because you're in the community, right? Like, oh yeah. And boom, I start my sale like that, you know.
BK's brother, right? Wasn't it Jack? Was it Fresno State? Fresno State baseball.
Oh, I met him at freaking work when I was training in Clovis.
He was telling me about that.
He came in and I shouted you out right away.
His younger brother is actually one of my coaches at Buchanan.
He was telling me.
With BK.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy because I was like, it's funny how everything ties in.
Yeah.
Because he's like, well, hook me with tires. I was like, hook you with a scholarship, my boy. You know, we got to talk. Hey, so let me know if you need an agent, my boy. You know, I got you. You know, but nah, it was kind of cool. I think that's very cool. And then obviously, he plays for Fresno State. But one of my old coworkers, Eddie Saldivar, his little boy's right there. He's at Fresno State.
He's balling right now.
Yeah, I heard he's doing pretty well. You know,
shout out Eddie Saldivar. He's the one, like Future Stars. That all started for us because I saw Eddie Saldivar go to play in Fenway.
Oh wow, yeah. Shout out. I remember when
that was when I saw him playing on Fenway because they did like a little piece of him on like ABC or Fox. I can't remember which one it was, but it was a local TV show. I was watching the news that night and I saw that they were doing a piece on this kid from Memorial that was playing at Fenway Park.
Yeah.
And I told myself, Adam's going to do that. Like,
we didn't even get a piece. Hey, don't worry. I'm working on it with Jason Oliveira. That's your dad.
So, yeah, I told, we almost got it. Shout out Gabe Camarillo. I know it was during like football playoffs and stuff. So he was a little swamped.
Like I told, what I want to do next in my next life, if the Lord blesses me, I have contacts to KMPH and contacts ABC 30. So if I had to, use one of those contacts and whoever comes first, we're going to push and get you a story out there, and at the same time, when Insidethepodwlou, if it does, God allows it to go get bigger, I'll push you, and then from there, like I told that cat, I was like, he's like, no, we like AP. And I was like, well, how much do you like AP? Because it depends how much these tires are going to go for my boys, Because it's always about what you know, bro. It's who you know. I mean, it's always who you know.
For sure.
And that's just how life is. But just know that move with God in your heart, and you'll be fine. Just do
Always.
the right thing. That little saying, do the right thing when no one is looking. So when they're looking, you're doing the right thing.
Right.
I felt like I always try to tell my trainees that when I was at my last career, and it's kind of funny because I got in trouble for not doing the right thing. See what happens? You break the rules, you'll see.
Comes
Right?
back to bite you.
Comes back to bite you. Right? You reap what you sow. So I feel like a lot of my lessons I got to give back, and that ties into obviously my last career. Right? I lost my stripes. Kind of shame, embarrassment. Right? I'm on a slump. Say you went from being a sophomore, first team all state, bro. It's big. And then you go through a 3-week, 4-week span in baseball during the league play. A bad slump.
Yeah.
How's that gonna look, right? That doesn't define you as a baseball player, though. You're right. And so that's what the Lord kind of delivered to me is like, you're gonna say one bad year or one incident's gonna define 10 years of what I did for you, of what I showed you, of what I taught you, what I brought you through. And so, no, it's not, right? But if you don't have once again, back to 2 weeks ago, if you don't have the mindset, it's not, it's not going to be in your favor, bro. It all ties back down to God.
Right.
And I loved how the Lord blessed me to tie it in. Like, I'm just kind of flowing, right? We kind of scripted a little bit. I was going to ask you, but everything else was, I said, we'll just let it flow. And I think that's the beauty of it. Like, I can kind of go over stuff, but I like that I'm tying it back into the Lord,
Yeah.
And just kind of saying that, I think I was going to ask you one more question about flowing into baseball. But at this time, I can't think of it. If it comes, I'll just say it.
Okay.
But is there anything that you wanted to tie in that we've been touching on that?
Nothing.
Or anything, Adam, that you kind of want to talk about that, I don't know, something that's just let us kind of know what's on the mind of a young athlete, bro. A junior, right? I mean, if you think about it, you got one more year and then you're in college.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, where are you at mentally?
I try not to think about that too much, stress myself out about it. But yeah, like again, just waiting on what comes, and I'm not really tripping or stressing about college offers right now or nothing. I mean, we got Fresno City right down the road. It's a great JUCO. That's you just got everything. You just.
Oh, I mean, like in general. Okay, so say without baseball though. I'm not talking about college offers no more.
Okay.
I'm just saying in general, like as far as education, do you feel like, do you know what you want to do, or is it right now just I just want to play baseball and I just want to like kind of get there? When I go to college, I'm just gonna get a degree, or is it in their specific degree you want to go in? I mean, obviously, Dad chose sales, right? And Mom chose education.
Yeah.
So it's like there's not, you can't, and then you're on the baseball path. So it's like, are you gonna say, oh, I'm gonna go into education? Maybe I'll be a PE teacher. Shoot, you'll be a really good baseball coach, right? You've been through all these things, so it's like it will still tie into something later, right?
Right.
Like if you don't like, and I'm pretty sure I think Dad knows. I know Jesse Acosta, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who Jesse Acosta is?
Yeah.
Played AAA ball, right? Went all the way up, almost made it pro, and then now I ended up working with him at the sheriff department. Hopefully he'll come on and he'll give his story and then tie it into however it works, right?
Right.
So that's why I was just kind of like, do you have a?
I think I either want to go into communications or kinesiology.
Okay.
I mean, I know like kinesiology is the one thing athletes normally do, but
Yeah.
yeah, school. I mean, I like it. It's not like something that I struggle with at all. I get good grades, and
What's your GPA?
right now I have a 4.0. Cumulative, I'm not sure.
Dang, like that?
My freshman year, I kind of slacked off a little bit, but
4.0.
right now, yeah. In
Okay, so
this year and last year.
all these kids that are watching out there, look at good athlete, good student, right? It's all about grades.
Yeah.
And I think that comes back to our approach. When you're a hitter, right? Your approach at the plate.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure, obviously us when we were playing in D5, D6, like they don't really teach you scout and report, and try to give the general breakdown to like the public, I guess, that wouldn't know. Is it go into depth, like when you're gonna play, for example, like who would say your rival was Buchanan? Who's like your biggest rival?
Probably Clovis North. We
Okay.
play them this next week, so
Oh, okay.
they're 20-3 right now too.
So
So
19-3 versus 20-3.
yeah.
Okay, when you guys play them, when next week on?
Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday.
And where's the Friday game at?
Buchanan, 6:30.
Damn, like that. I think we have to go over there and maybe broadcast it live. Go live and just be like, hey, we shot Because I'm off on Fridays.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so if I can try to get over there. I don't know what I got going on yet because I think I got some interviews lined up, but I could try to make it work to where I open up the Friday evening or something. Maybe we'll just go live or something out there, watch the game, and like kind of go over it play by play. You know,
It'll be a good one. Yeah.
maybe after get you a little interview like they do on post game. You know, but that'd be cool. So then, okay, that's your biggest rivalry then, right?
Right.
Do you guys go over like scouting reports?
Honestly, I think the coaches go scout and do all that, and they obviously make their own scouting reports, break down. You know, one of our coaches, Coach Kemp, goes to all the games. He has all these tendencies. I remember he showed me when I first transferred. He gave me a paper of my scouting report when he scouted me when I was playing against him, and it was like he was showing me like the pitches I didn't hit, the pitches I did hit, where I hit the ball, like everything. Like they had everything down. So they got everything. They got everything settled. You know, they take care of it all.
That's like playing in the track that, you know, all the Clovis schools and Central, like they really, really know each other. You familiarize yourself, especially through the course of 3 games, right? You're playing 3-game series out there during league. So they know everybody to a T. Like they know all your tendencies. They, you know, so it's a battle, man.
Have you guys played North this year at all?
Mm-mm.
So this is like, so where's Tuesday's game at?
Buchanan.
Oh, so it's all home series.
It goes home, away, home. So Wednesday will be at North.
Oh shit. Okay. So this coming up Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do I got going on Tuesday? What's my birthday?
Yeah.
I was like maybe, but I think I was gonna try to record here.
Yeah.
Give an
In my mind, I was already going to be at Adam's game and then fly this way.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to do so on my. Well, I'm getting old now, bro. Like we don't really celebrate like we used to.
See
You
a
know?
little bit right here.
I
Got
know.
the whites coming
Hey,
in.
keep it down. And then so what we'll do is I wanted to bring my boys on and just podcast.
Oh yeah.
You know, and then because we're in a group chat, bro, and sometimes these guys are like PAG meter. You know, they're giving. I feel like I know everything about high school sports around the valley. You know, I feel like I got some scouting reports down. I know who's committed, and I know who. You know, so I was like, oh shoot. So I think that's just kind of cool. You know,
Oh yeah.
to kind of be able to talk about that and talk about sports. I miss it. You know, like I'm a baseball guy, so I can go out there and hear the talk, hear the conversation, hear the scouting report. You know, give scenarios. Right. I never played at the next level, never been at anywhere you've been. So for sure, like obviously you're gonna know what they expect, right? Because you're over there trying out for teams, so you're gonna know it through your experience. You're gonna have more experience than me through time, even though you're younger than me. You have more experience in baseball. You know, it's overall your baseball knowledge is gonna just keep growing. That's what I'm saying. You'll eventually turn into a really good coach because you're gonna be able to give all of it back.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one day. Maybe hopefully you don't. Hopefully, I mean, as far as young, hopefully you play for a while, but later on. It's thought if you go to school and you get an education, you remember you always have that degree to fall back on. Go be a PE teacher, bro. At who knows, maybe Buchanan.
Oh yeah.
You know, and then before you know it, maybe when Coach Fonts is ready to officially retire, it can be passed down to the next guy, and you just never know who the next guy is going to be.
Right.
But the Lord always puts us in unique situations. I wanted a podcast for a long time, and remember Isaiah 60:22. When the time is right, the Lord will make it happen. You know, so I'm excited for you, man. I'm excited. So when we do bring you on, hopefully we can do follow-ups, you know.
Right.
Kind of see more or less where you're at. I will kind of touch on the topic because, you know, when you kind of get into it, how has it been as far as being a 4.0 student? Obviously, you've adjusted pretty well with your education, but has it been difficult as far as like practice schedules and having to like worry about homework? Because I know a lot of kids complain about that. Can you kind of
honestly, I don't really get much homework.
Is it because you're an athlete?
No.
Oh.
I mean, I don't. Everybody used to tell me like, oh, like managing school and sports would be like very difficult. I mean, yeah, you get into those times where you're like, you just worried about baseball. You were only worried about practice, and after practice, you're like, oh, I don't want to do homework. Like, just want to go home and rest. And then like it'll end up catching up to you, and you're like, oh, I got to grind out like 6 hours after practice at night of just straight homework. But I mean, as long as you just stay on top of your stuff and you get your assignments in when they're due, I mean, it's pretty manageable. So
We've always told them, like, you know, obviously being a student, you're a student athlete, so student comes first and those kinds of things. When we talk about like him playing at the next level, obviously he's not a very big guy. We always tell him like, doesn't pass the eye test a lot of times, just 'cause
Yeah.
on the smaller side. So we would always say like, hey, one of the things that's going to help you earn a scholarship is going to be your grades. Your grades are important, and they're going to go a long way towards, how school looks at you. And so it's just another aspect. And thankfully, as parents, we thank God that he's taken it personally, to say like, okay, if that's what's necessary, if that's what's going to help me, then I'm going to be my best at that too. So he's done a good job of being a good student and handling his responsibilities in the classroom. So much so that like me and mom don't really have to be on him much about it. He kind of just takes care of it on his own. So obviously it's nice, to be able to say that he takes as much pride in that as he does, baseball and, workouts and having to go the extra mile to make sure that you're the best that you can be. I think that's important, just like, for young athletes that you're trying to be an example to. I think that's crucial for a lot of them to know, is that goes a long way. I mean, it's never going to hurt you, you know what I mean, to make sure that that's part of the emphasis of your development.
Yeah, no. I think it comes back down to, when you do good in school and building that, like, how you work, your work ethic, right? It comes back down to work ethic. And baseball can be, once again, all your reps in the batting cage, right? You're going to throw a session, a bullpen session. You're going to take ground balls, fly balls, right? BP in the cage, all that stuff, right? And if you're doing your homework and your grades and you're staying up with it, it just shows that you're accountable, right? You're going to show up, and I feel like that's just everyday life now, like if you're not willing to work hard, like I feel like people think like this is a grind, bro. Like at the end of the day, this is a grind. Like we're grinding, you're grinding, right? And then you're doing the extra. You're playing baseball year round. That sucks, probably, right?
I mean,
it almost turns into work, I mean, like it was funny because the other day it broke down about having like what's good fun to him, right, compared to other people, and he's like, fun to me is watching my boy play baseball in 110-degree weather. I was like, that sounds awful,
right? No playing in it,
and it's like obviously sometimes that's not fun. I mean, but maybe it is fun to you because you're doing something you love, right?
Yeah.
But it's like to the most people, even baseball players, bro, they don't like it, and it's like it's still that sacrifice that you have to do in order to be the best at something, right? And so when do those days hit? Like is baseball still feel like it's fun to you, or does it feel like it's a job now that it's like so?
I don't know. I love it, man.
Do you ever wish that you could play any other sports? Like, because we were good at baseball and you were good. You were good at basketball and you were good at football, right?
Oh yeah. One thing I do regret when I moved here is only sticking to baseball. I kind of wish I played basketball and football when I got to Kasner. I didn't end up playing them because I wasn't very familiar, obviously, with the people there. I was new, so kind of wasn't social yet. But yeah.
And you think it would be too late now? Like senior year would be like, oh, I'm gonna go try to play basketball.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'd even. I'm 5'8". I don't know about basketball anymore. But I mean, football. I just think injury. I don't want to get injured. Before my senior year, especially because if I want to play baseball at the next level, to me, there's no point in risking that my last year of high school.
Yeah, no, for sure. But if you can go back and do it over, you would start as a freshman and play every sport.
Oh yeah, yeah. I feel like that's one thing I miss about being in Mendota. I used to be a 3-sport athlete. It was a blast. I was always busy.
And by you, Dad, do you regret not putting him in?
I tried to force him to play football when we got there. We went out to football practice and he talked to the coach, and whatever that conversation was, he kind of just left like, no, I don't want to play.
Why? The conversation wasn't good, or what?
I was a quarterback. I was a quarterback my whole life when I played when I played football, and when I got there, he kind of told me we already got a quarterback. So if you came out, you'd have to play a different position. So that already kind of turned me away from it.
Never watched him throw football.
Yeah, didn't even give me a chance. Just told me it was like we already got a quarterback. So
Sometimes you just know as a coach, and maybe if he would have entertained the fact that he even let you throw a football, could have probably gotten his quarterback's head or
I told Adam
political out
he
there.
needed to pull a sunshine and
Just grab a football and
grab a football,
toss it.
throw it, 40 yards.
That's what you
he
should
ended
do.
up being my PE coach, and we'd go out and like play catch sometimes, and he'd tell me like, "Dude, you should come out." I was like,
You told me no.
Yeah.
"It's all right."
Yeah, no, that's
So
funny.
even with like, it just, I don't know. At the time though, I bought in to the idea that like maybe it was a lot. Like, we're small town. We don't know. We think, man, those are big schools. I remember when we took Adam over there. Like, I gave him the big speech. Like, hey, bro, you might not play. You're going to D1. Like, we don't know what it's gonna be like.
Yeah,
He had been part of the travel circuit, and kind of knew some guys.
and you were already a
But-
starter in the travel circuit, right?
Yeah,
But even then, we were like, well, you're gonna have to earn your spot. Some
Yeah.
parents out there, they got money.
Oh no, for sure. Yeah, you get real political quick out there.
There's a lot of politics involved. So I was giving them the whole spiel, like, we don't know what to expect. So even when the football thing went down, like, that was my first experience as a parent to like have to deal with, what's it called, rejection, right? Where he was literally like, I don't want to play, coach turned me off or whatever. And I gave way to that. Like, instead of pushing him further, trying to make him do it or whatever, because I think it would have been good for him. Even then, like, if you look at how it ended up working out, they ended up in need of a quarterback. The system didn't have a great quarterback. They have a great quarterback now. But at the time, they were kind of shorthanded quarterback-wise. So I felt like, man, he could have at least got himself in there, maybe. Obviously with his work ethic, like, anything's possible, right? And that's something that we pride ourselves in, being small town guys. Your work ethic's gonna get you. So it's like, so him being out there, like, I was like, man, I should have made him play football, And now we watch basketball games, and he's like, man, Dad, like, there's nothing like watching a basketball game at this level. Like, it's just fun. They play so fast. It's up and down. Like, it's just the atmosphere. Like, he's like, man, if basketball and baseball weren't like back-to-back seasons, like, I'd for sure be out there. So that part for me hurts, because I'm like, man, Mendota, he would have been a 3-sport athlete, and he would have been able to enjoy that part of high school. I feel like, but those are the sacrifices that you have to make.
You were the varsity coach for Mendota boys, right?
Yeah.
For how long?
I was there 4 seasons. I had done 9 seasons at the junior high prior to, and built up the AAU program during my time there. And then when we got to the high school, did a lot of investing in that, and just bringing the boys up, and so the team that I started with, like, from the bottom, which was like his group of guys, because he always played up. Those guys got to go to Valley last year. They played in the Valley Championship, Mendota basketball.
Oh, I know they lost.
Yeah.
They lost by like 1 or something like that.
Yeah.
They were up pretty big.
So, shout out Coach Clark, the Clarks. They did a really good job with those boys. But I get to say, like, I had a hand in that and their development and stuff. And so, man, if you asked me, like, what sport did Adam grind out, like, it was basketball.
Yeah.
It was
I'd have me
basketball.
in the
Like,
gym at 5
dude
in
would
the
be
morning.
like, he'd be mad at me because I would go with the boys at 6 a.m. to go shoot around before school. And so he'd get mad at me if I didn't wake him up to go to the gym. Like, I'd come home from the gym and he'd be waking up, like his mom would be waking him up, and he'd be like, Dad, why didn't you wake me up? Like, I told you I wanted to go with you, and he'd be in the gym shooting. We had that shoot away machine that kicks the ball out to you, and you could, and he'd be in there grinding. Like,
And what years were this? What years were these when you were the coach? Well, from what year to what year?
it was 17 to 20, because COVID happened right after my last season. So right when our season ended, school got shut down. And so...
And then that's what, like, led you not to go back?
That, and then we kind of had an idea that he was going to be transferring out of Mendota, like, for school and stuff.
So it was like a mutual
Yeah, it was kind of, one of the things that, like, I knew that I was spending a lot of time with my team and the program, but also he was getting better at baseball and doing more traveling, and so something had to give. And
Yeah.
so obviously, I felt like I could always get back to that.
And you kind of coming from that coaching aspect, do you feel like, and same question to you, like, do you feel like he's too coachy, or is it the right amount of dad and coach, or is it like,
I think that's funny. We were just talking about that. I think growing up with him being a coach and always being my coach, because he's coached me on every team I played until high school, pretty
Yeah.
much. I think like our relationship is he's coach to me still. I always think he's coach after games. He still coaches me, but I think lately he's starting to back off a little bit and take over a more of just a
like a dad role?
fan role. So, but I mean, I like balance. So I like sometimes after games when he's not talking, like say I have a bad game, go like 0 for 4, 0 for 3, and I'm like expecting him to coach me, us talk for an hour, like hours, and he just doesn't do much. I'm like, dude, like come on, like say something, like
You've been doing this my whole
yeah,
life.
like,
Where are you now?
But I mean, yeah,
I'm just doing my feels to even get it out at that point. I'm just like, you know what? Let's not talk about it.
but
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, him coaching me my whole life, I feel like that's allowed us to connect over like sports, and like obviously him like understanding me as a player. He knows me more than anybody else, so like being able to have him for advice and everything like that, I feel like that worked out perfectly. And I think I think that's a huge blessing, having that.
Like, yeah. And then when did it go for you, like letting go of that, I'm not coach no more, I'm just dad?
I think, yeah, that was part of our conversation this morning. I think like, I just asked him this morning, when was the last time we played catch? And it's been probably 4 or 5 months, like, which is crazy to think about, like for that to set in, because we wouldn't have gone a week without playing catch ever, like ever. We would have
Why do
always.
you think that is? Just because your step back, or
Yeah,
does that priorities change? Because I didn't even ask earlier, and I don't want to cut dad off, but I mean, obviously you're doing good in school and sports, right? But do you have a girl?
Right now, yeah.
Okay, see, so I mean, you have to tie in. You're turning into a teenager, right? You're in Fresno, then near River Park, right? So it's like you're right there. Like, there's a lot going on, and then you're still focusing. So that's why I'm saying, like, when did it? I could see why the catching hasn't happened, because maybe your focus is on, I'm gonna go chill with my girl, or I'm gonna go do this, or I'm gonna go, So it's gonna change. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, try to stay locked in. But back to dad is like, where does that go as far as?
So yeah, I think like, I would say it's been a transition in high school, just from handing them off to other coaches. Obviously, high school was the first time that like I'm not coaching him. I coached him from when he was 3 years old, playing t-ball with 8-year-olds. Coached him in football, basketball, baseball. I even had to coach him in soccer because they didn't have enough coaches, so I had to learn soccer so I could coach his soccer team. I wanted him to do soccer so he could have good footwork. So I put him in that, and then I ended up coaching it. So I've literally coached, I coached him his whole life, and then he gets to high school, and I'm like, okay, I hope that the coaching there supersedes what I can give him, right? I hope that they're good for that. Like, I assume, obviously, the level of talent that's there, and the competition, the coaching, and everything. You have guys that are, that have gone places and done things. Clovis West, Coach Patrick, been in the game for a long time. Coach Pat Ware was, one of the Diamond Dogs. 08, Billy Seamus, coach, played in the league for a lot of years. So for him to play for guys like that, like, it was like, okay, hands off, and just kind of let him learn from them. But anytime that he would go into a slump, or anytime he was struggling, like the only way I knew how to help him was to do it with him and get back in the lab with him.
Yeah.
And so we kind of established that we couldn't give up on that. even then, you know, it was like, you can't give up on this. And so we've done that again at Buchanan. You know, he goes to Buchanan. You're getting coached by Brad Fonts, amazing head coach. He's got a staff of guys that have been drafted and played, and you know, like, so, like those, for me, it's like, okay, well, you got the resources. You know, we brought you here. This is, you know, and he's still like, nah, Dad, like, we need to hit. You know, like you're my guy to be in the lab with, and so at that point, like, it's me. Now it's so mental. When he was younger, that's a big part of it too. When he was younger, a lot of it was physical. It was how to teach kids how to play the game. And so when he was learning how to play, a lot of the things that he had to do, it was about holding him accountable physically. You get to a certain point where you have a good swing. You can pitch. You can, you know, you're good with a glove. You can play catch, you know, whether it's out in the outfield, being able to track a ball, or playing first base and being able to pick throws or whatever, you know what I mean? Like being able to field your position. Like at some point, learning the game flips from physical to mental. And because now you have all the tools, and now it becomes more of a chess game. We talked about like the scouting reports and things like that, right? Mm-hmm. So now it's a game of chess. Now it's, you know, now you're not just hitting fastballs. Now you're hitting sliders, curveballs, changeups. You know, you're facing guys that are touching 90 or 90 plus.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's a much more mental game. And so I think I've gone from being his physical coach to where now I don't do so much with him physically, but I'm in his ear. Like we're doing a lot of mental touches, and I'm trying to be more of his mental coach now as it comes to the game. What's your approach? What are you thinking? What are you thinking on deck? What are you telling yourself in the box? Because I can work on your swing all day in the cage. We get hit in the cage for 3 or 4 hours. And I can tell you all the right things. Hey, think this, think this, think this. Then you go in the game and you see a guy that you know pitching, you know, you coach is telling you, he's giving you signs. You're thinking about the signs. You're thinking about the situation, game. Are you going to remember what Dad was telling you in the cage 2 days ago? You know what I mean?
Probably
like,
not.
Probably not. Or sometimes, you know, but that's the challenge. And it's not so much about it being my voice. It's just about him having his own voice.
Yeah.
You know, people ask me, how are you able to record and not say anything? Because I record every at bat that he has, you know, when he's pitching, every at bat. And I've learned, like, games are the test, right? Practice is where you practice and you get better. And people say, like, oh, I want my kid playing, you know, like, games are not where you get better. You get better situationally. You do learn from the games, but games are the actual test of your skill set. So for me as a parent, like, a lot of times I'm trying to challenge myself, and I really want to see if he can pass the test without a study guide, without a cheat sheet. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if I'm out there yelling cues while he's in the batter's box, to me, it just feels like he's not the best version of himself. He's him with my help. You know what I mean? Mm. So I've tried to see, like, even for me, I'm like, I want to see if he can figure it out for himself. And I'm standing there recording, and I'm thinking everything. Bro, we talked about this. This is what he should be thinking. He should be looking for outside fastball. Like, outside fastball, we're looking for that. And I'm recording him, and I'm thinking that in my head. And then outside fastball comes, and he watches it for strike one. And I'm like, because we talked about that. Like, we'll be in the cage, and I'll be like, bro, what do you know? And he's like, I know outside fastball. And I'm like, okay, that's what you're looking for. When you get in the box, you're telling yourself outside fastball, right? So we talked about it. We worked on it. We got in the cage. Boom, mental process, everything locked in. Game time now. He's on the field. I'm in the stands. I know what I'm thinking. I know what he should be thinking. And he gets in the box, and I'm like, all right, let's see. Should I yell it? hey, outside fastball, or should I? Yeah, hey, remember what you know, because that was the thing. What do you know? It could easily be, hey, what do you know, to try to help him get back on track mentally. But I'm sitting there thinking, let's see how mentally tough he is. Let's see if he can, let's see if he can apply the work that he puts in. Because if he can't, it doesn't matter if I shout out the answers to him in the test.
Yeah.
At some point, he's not going to be able to pass the test on his own. And so, that's just been something like for me as a dad, like I want to see him succeed because of his own ability. And right now the challenge is trying to get him to be mentally locked in, to be able to think the right things during the right times. Like we've come to the agreement, you don't put the ball on the ground with bases loaded and less than 2 outs, right? He had a situation where he came up, they got a rally going, less than 2 outs, bases loaded. He hits a ground ball, double play, inning over. I was like, dude, anything else, please. Anything else in that situation. Strike out. Pop up. Give the next guy a chance. Do not hit the ball on the ground with less than 2, right? Mm-hmm. So, again, same situation comes up. I'm thinking that very same thing. Please do not hit the ball on the ground. And I'm wondering, is he thinking that? Does he remember that? Does he know that in this moment, I cannot hit the ball on the ground?
What were you thinking, AP?
Can't hit the ball on the ground. Got to get in the air.
And
I know what he's talking about. It was when I hit that ball to the wall, bases loaded against West, with 1 out. I was just telling myself I got to hit it as far as I can. I don't care if it's a sac fly. I just got to hit in the outfield in the air. Yeah.
And it was bases clearing?
Yeah.
But one of them you grounded into a double play?
The opportunity he had before that, he did. I think it was it Elk Grove?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was against Elk Grove. Game we lost. Bases loaded.
You guys lost by how much?
1.
AP.
Yeah.
Lost by 1. So what is
it? Good.
So you learn, right? Failure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That failure. So
yes,
what is
sir.
it? So for me, that was the big at bat. And so for me, I try to like judge, his at bats by his ability to execute his approach. So I know he's going good. I don't care about the result of the at bat. He could pop it up because he missed the pitch. But if he swung at the right pitch in the at bat, that's a win in my book. Because if he's successful mentally enough times, it'll work itself out.
Yeah.
So as long as he's having a good at bat, then that's what we care about. So that's been a process for me because I'm so results driven too.
Yeah.
So it's hard sometimes because I want to like beat him into the ground about, like rolling over on a pitch or whatever. And I'm trying to learn too, like to focus more on the mental aspect of it and not so much the results, but did you have the right mindset? Were you thinking the right things? And, did you execute your plan? Because, what is it? Failing to plan is planning to fail, right?
Yeah.
So as long as you have a plan, like you said, baseball, 3 out of 10, right? If you're consistent with the plan and it's a good plan, you work on it and you get it right. If you can have a consistent plan, then you're gonna be successful more often, oftentimes than not.
Yeah.
And so, so I think like that's where we've now gotten in our relationship, like father coach, is just touching bases mentally. Like, what were you thinking on that? What were you thinking on this? What were you thinking? Like, it's not so physical anymore. He does all the physical stuff he does well. Whether it's playing first base, playing the outfield, defensively, he does those things well. He swings the bat well. I mean, he can put the bat on the ball.
Where are you hitting that in the lineup right now?
Second.
Oh, okay. Pretty key spot. So
Yeah.
And he's surrounded by dudes, bro. Like he's like the whole lineup. I mean, we could do a whole separate podcast on just the team, but
yeah.
that's like.
So would you say it's between you and North then for the title?
Yeah.
So then this week is gonna be a big.
They're 8-1 right now in track, and we're 9-0. So.
Oh shoot! So it's gonna be a big test.
Oh yeah.
Are you think you're gonna throw in 3?
Hopefully, yeah. I think so. Probably leave the game.
Okay.
They got their arms right now are really good. and they're
And what position do you play then? Are you outfield, infield?
I play the outfield, and when our first baseman throws, Parker Hines, he's a Fresno State commit, lefty, like 91.
Oh shoot!
It's pretty good. Yeah. Whenever he pitches, I play first.
Do you guys ever do BP off each other?
Oh yeah, before season we do like inter squads and stuff. Oh my gosh, I faced him probably more than anybody else.
Really?
It's good, bro. It's good stuff. His slider's really good. So. But it's competitive every time. Me and him, he likes to get me out, and I like to get hits off him. So we make each other better.
There you go. Okay. And then see, you're not gonna have that. Obviously that. I remember the first time I took Lou out there, and we had that kid that was committed to, I think, somewhere. I think it was at Texas Tech, or they were pitching. Remember? And I was like, dang, they stretched for like 2 hours, and they threw for like 10 minutes, and they left.
Oh, it was Ishan and Ishan was Fresno State, and then Galvin,
Oh no.
Noah Galvin. So those guys, yeah, Ishan and Noah, those guys are college guys.
Yeah.
And they went out, yeah, they literally stretched on the field for
Like at least 2 hours, bro. And they threw for like maybe 15 minutes.
One of them's doing really well right now for the Cardinals. He's in the Cardinals organization.
Yeah,
Really?
Ishan Henderson, he was at Fresno State.
That was the one that was throwing that day, right?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
the lefty.
It takes a lot of time to stretch.
Oh yeah.
He was Fresno State's ace last year, and then he got drafted by the Cardinals, and he's in the minor leagues right now, and he's doing really well.
Man, you have his contact. I get him on the pod. That's right. It baby steps, right?
He coached me when I was playing travel ball, like 12U.
Really?
Yeah, cool guy. He went to Clovis West, so.
Man, that is cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to like see all the resources. Like I kind of name drop with the coaches and stuff like that. Like just, it seems so taboo. Like when you're in Mendota, like you just don't know people like that. You don't realize that.
Yeah, the networking is not as big.
The community is not. Like, I mean, we all tripped out when, like, the Sports Center thing happened. And like Bethel Mejia got to go hang out with like Tom Izzo.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
the resources that come of just like, being in different circles. So, being out there and just being surrounded by people who have been there and done that. Like he has a coach that played for Team USA, wasn't it? Infield coach. That's what I was told, or that's what I had heard.
At Buchanan?
Yeah.
Azzy or Subi?
Yeah, Azzy.
Azzy.
Azzy, yeah. They said he was a Team USA guy.
Oh yeah, he's in the bigs.
Yeah. So
A lot of our staff got drafted playing the minors and big leagues.
one of them was a first round draft pick.
One of one.
Who's that?
Or Wilson, Coach Wilson. His son's actually in the MLB right now. Justin Wilson.
The kid that played for Fresno State too, the lefty.
Yeah. Yeah, his
boy.
dad's one of our coaches. He
Really?
drafted one of one. Yeah.
He played for the Tigers, no?
Justin.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yeah. Come on, boy.
He's at the Red Sox right now. So.
Oh, okay. He's on the MLB team.
But yeah.
He comes out of the bullpen or what?
Yeah, he was a reliever.
Okay. He used to be a starter though.
Did he?
Yeah, I remember him at Fresno State.
Yeah, he threw the Natty game the year they won.
Yeah,
you know?
I remember him, dude.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And his dad was drafted in the first round. So,
Yeah.
just being in those circles.
Yeah.
It was just crazy, like all the people, and then and then seeing the next generation of it, the Ishan Hendersons, and Drew Smith, who's at Oregon right now.
Well, I met a cat. Remember I told you that guy that gave me his number, that Thomas, that been played 10 years in MLB.
Oh yeah.
I gotta call him, maybe get him on the pod or get him to talk to you. It was a good conversation, but he said he had 10 years. His little girl's I guess a really good softball player.
That Future Stars program is really good for that too. They got a bunch of it's all major league guys who have been there, scouting department, players, coaches, all that stuff. So just to be around that kind of knowledge and tutelage is just crazy. Like it's so far, like it just seems so foreign from what we know, in Mendota. Like I don't take any of it for granted. I'm still like,
well, yeah, it's different now, right? You're like getting stuff like pretty much DoorDash to you. Mendota, you can't do that,
Yeah.
So I mean, pretty sure it's a different world. Like if you were to come back this way, I mean, I still have buddies that over there in Fresno. I mean, you're one of them. You guys can get your groceries DoorDash. You can get your, your dinner. Like here, you're lucky if you get Pizza Factory.
People don't realize how different the life is, like the lifestyle.
Yeah.
Is,
Shout out to Black too, by the way, Pizza Factory.
Yeah.
He hooked it up yesterday, but we don't get a bro pickup.
Yeah.
Or a,
Like we he was just asking me like, dude, we eat at Maria's restaurant in Mendota after church like every Sunday, and I was like, yeah, dude.
Is that where you guys ate today?
Yeah. I was like,
Cool invite.
kind of the only spot really, like, I mean, there's other restaurants, but like that's our little spot, and it's just like, you're in Fresno, bro, like there's so much, like it's just so different. It's so if people don't realize that, like obviously the people that we're surrounded by now, like to them that's what they grew up around, and it's normal to them, but to us it's still kind of like, like, oh damn, this is kind of cool,
No, yeah.
And I mean, obviously, it's a smaller percentage of my life than it is his. It's been a bigger percentage of his.
Well, I mean, even when we were talking about when you went to Fenway, we talked about, you said it's such a different world over there.
Yeah.
In Boston and compared to here. And
yeah,
it's something that I think one day I would like to, I was trying to tell you, like, I don't know where this is going to lead or, anything in general, right? Life. Right. But I just know that I'm no longer wasting money as far as, on, gambling, and it's not just going away. So hopefully I can be able to take trips like that, and get it kind of trip out on a different, kind of demographic. And
I mean, if it wasn't for Adam, like, I don't know that I would be as well traveled as I.
Well, I mean, the Dominican, that's one, right? It's a completely different country. One.
Yeah.
Boston's a whole different city, that opposite side of the country. So.
Nashville.
Nashville.
Like we got to go to. We've been to
Arizona,
Tennessee now three times.
Tennessee.
Been to Nashville 3 times.
You went to Louisiana.
Florida. He played in Orlando.
Yeah.
Been to Arizona and Vegas 100 times. So
I never been to Vegas.
Really?
Never. Yeah, I went to like California once. You've been out Cali, probably. Yeah, you'll probably have in your lifetime, bro. You probably traveled more than I'll ever.
Really?
Yeah, I swear.
So, like, you know what I'm saying? So, like, for him, it's been kind of a more normal life. But to me, being able to even try to provide that life is just, it's overwhelming sometimes, and shout out my parents because obviously they help us.
Yeah, for sure.
And they've gone with us on trips and stuff like that too. So it's a lot, it's a lot coming from such a small town and not having being exposed to any of that, So for him, like, obviously he's not even aware of how, how rare it is. I remember I took a team, one of my basketball teams. I took them we got into a tournament at St. Joseph's, which was out in Santa Maria, and a lot of the kids that I took on that trip were juniors and seniors, had never been to the beach before.
Wow. It's like that movie scene from McFarlane, remember?
Yeah.
To the beach.
Yeah. We took them to the beach and I mean, yeah, they had literally never been to the beach before, and they were 17, 18 years old.
No, that's the reality that we live in down here in the West Side, in the smaller towns. A lot of these kids don't have the opportunity. So I think you coming on, I said, just kind of shows like, oh, wow, but they don't understand it's a lot of hard work. And I feel like tying back into the Lord is like, when you become a follower of Jesus, it's not something that's just, it's every day. Get up, pick up your cross, take one step. But we're going to have failures along the way. We just talked about it, right? But I just feel like it ties into it because, we're from such small towns, and now you're out there and like even doing it above me as far as the big city. I don't got DoorDash, bro. I got to go get it. I am the DoorDash, so it's like the kids here in Farwell can never experience what I think sometimes, one day you're like, I got to take Adam his lunch. Yeah. Lou hits me up for lunch. I'm like, check the calendar, the cafeteria. Man, you my boy. Like you ain't gonna go, you're tripping.
Yeah.
So I think like even that is like a luxury, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So that's kind of cool,
I think it's just being blessed enough to be able to do it. Like, obviously we wouldn't do it if we couldn't, but we're just from a family standpoint, like just trying to continue to grow and like get better. Adam hangs out with some pretty well-off friends, and we get to talk about how they've gotten to where they're at and just kind of like the history within their family. And, you know, like for us, we're barely building that. You know, I think that's the cool part. Like, it's not about being embarrassed that we don't have. It's about taking pride in the fact that, like, we get to be the pillars of what our family legacy will be. You know, like, they get to say, like, oh, my grandpa started this, or my grandpa bought that back in the day, or, you know, we have this business, we've had it in the family 30 years, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, for you, you know, you're starting this podcast, like, you know, who knows, little Louie's going to be able to talk about that, you know, 20 years from now and be like, yeah, my dad's interviewed and podcasted with everybody famous ever in the Valley. You know what I mean? Like, those kinds of things. Like, so for us, it's not about what we don't have in where we're at. Like, it's humbling, and I think it's good, because either way, like, you know, God has us where we're at for a reason, you know, and obviously we have a purpose, and, you know, we're made to fulfill that purpose. And so with that, like, I try to tell him, like, what we don't have isn't what matters. It's about being able to build something for the future. You know, like my parents, you know, my grandpa taught my dad how to work hard, like just work hard, and he had things. And my dad's dedicated his life to the church, you know, being a pastor. He didn't really look for material things. He didn't try to create a legacy through, let's say, like family wealth. His legacy is what he's done for the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
And how he's given himself to the church and to ministry, and how he's taught us to serve and be a blessing to others and understand that that's our purpose. And so that's been his legacy. And even through that, as much as he's dedicated himself through that, you know, he just became a first-time home buyer a few years ago. You know, he bought his first house. So, like, people don't really realize, just because Adam's playing at Buchanan, like, he's not that. You know, his grandpa, who's second generation, just bought his first home. You know, like, you know, we're still.
Where did he buy a home at?
There in Fresno.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, so that's.
He's still staying at the one though.
Yeah. He still lives in Mendota. But just like understanding, like, we are the beginning of what that story will be.
Yeah.
And embracing that, as opposed to like, oh, we don't have, or, you know, we don't belong, or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? Like, it's not so much about that. It's about embracing the opportunity to build something and taking pride in that. And so, you know, as long as you put God first, you know that you're going to win. And, you know, that's obviously with Adam, like, that's just what we've tried to do. It's just been God. And thankfully, God has allowed baseball. There was a lot of, like, when we were growing up, you asked Porfy, our family friend Porfy, you know Porfy, he didn't get to play football in high school because we used to have church service on Friday nights. And so he wasn't allowed to play football because he would have had to have missed church. And so his family said no. The church, almost like the church said no. And that was something that wasn't afforded to him, you know? And so, but good for him to be able to do that for himself, you know? And because I think if he would have pushed back, like, he would have played. I know his parents, and they gave them everything. So I think if he really, really wanted to, he would have. But he chose church over football, going through high school. So, like, to be able to do that. And so, like, with Adam, it's like, hey, you get to do this because God allows it. Everything that he's accomplished, all the doors that have been opened to him, the relationships, the opportunities, all of that is because God has allowed it. And if it wasn't aligned for him, then those things wouldn't have worked out in his favor, you know? And so I think as long as we, you know, like, obviously I try to always push with him, like, you're here for a reason, and this is given to you until it's not. You know, well, at any given moment, God can take that away and say, hey, you know what? Now I have something different for you, or I have a bigger plan for your life. And at that time, it might be hard to realize that it's in your best interest. right? When you're in
Yeah.
the middle of that change, all you can focus on is what you lost, right? But the reality of it is God's just setting you up to gain. You're just gaining more. He's putting you in a better situation, and it's hard as humans, we struggle with change, and, we like what we know. We like to be comfortable, and God's just always growing us, and he's always challenging us, and he's always getting us out of our comfort zone. And so for Adam, like I tell him, hey, baseball is baseball until it's not. But the fact of the matter is God comes first always. And
Yeah.
you have to understand that everything that you're doing and everything you're allowed to do has been because God says so.
Yeah.
So just super blessed, and I always try to make sure that he understands that. It's just, like he's tripping out that you haven't traveled as much as he has, like that's you being blessed, that's just
And I think it's like the way God does bless us too. Like, do we appreciate the blessings that we already currently have
right.
before he can give us more, or we ask for more, right? It's like, I felt like I was like that. I never appreciated anything I had. I was just wanted what was next. What's next though? What's next though, right? And I feel like the Lord has me in a position of where I work. That's how I feel like I'm treated. Like it's shown me like when I do something, I want to make sure that I'm doing something that I love, right? And what I'm doing right now is I don't love my job. I have to tolerate it, and I'm blessed to have it, right? And it allows me to pay my stuff. But I look at it like it's always never enough. They always want more and more and more and more, right? And so it's kind of like here, like I'm going to get out what I give, So if I want it to be more and more and more, I got to just keep pushing. Whether we get 10 views on this, or we get 100, or we get 1,000, or if I just keep going though, right? And it comes back down to like what your dad said, like I feel like the Lord is intentional, right? And we have to go through failures, and it reminded me when you were going through that is like I lost what I lost and where I was at, and I thought I was never gonna recover, bro. Me. But the Lord has blessed me and shown me, and he's giving me his grace, right? I have his grace. We can never do nothing. The only thing we can do is, say that he's Lord of our lives and that he died for our sins. And then we get blessed through him in his timing, back to Isaiah 60:22, right? When the time is right, the Lord will make it happen. But I just look at it like what you're saying is that it's not ever what we think, right? It's like, oh, okay, you think this way, but I could just flip it like that about baseball, right? Like, so where do you think your faith lies in the Lord, as being young, being with your grandfather, being a pastor, your dad being in the, in the church? What's your relationship? What's your relationship like with God?
Yeah. So growing up, like in church and always being around it, I kind of had like a head start, a jump start. It was kind of just normal, natural. But moving away from it, moving away from home, and going out to Fresno, not being as
Involved,
centered and involved, right? I feel like I honestly have grown a little bit like away from like a relationship, really, like as like wake up in the morning and read your Bible, like do everything the right way. Like I'm not where I want to be with it, obviously. But I'm like, people know like I'm a Christian. They know like I try to like base like what I do in my life around that. And I'd like to think everyone that you'd ask about me, like my friends, and they tell you like I'm a great guy. I handle my business the right way. And but yeah, I think obviously my relationship with God can be 1,000 times better. It can grow, can always get better. And so I'm trying to work on, trying to grow in that, grow in my maturity in my beliefs, and use that and allow that to be the center of what I'm trying to do with my career. If it's baseball, if it's getting a degree and going to work somewhere else, like having that be what I base the rest of my career on.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's just like you said it yourself. It's just acknowledging that that you don't have the best relationship, but
Right.
that's all it is. At the end of the day, the religion is just something that's man-made that we put our own little extra rules on. But it's a relationship with the Lord, right?
Yeah.
It's like, don't just praise Him when you're at your highs. Praise Him at your lows. Praise Him at your every which way, right? And I'm guilty of it too. Like I get up, do something, and I think it's just how we surround ourselves, what we surround ourselves with. Obviously, you being in Fresno and, like I said, having just way more access to, like, restaurants and just events, right? Even I would say you're still young, but parties, right? I mean, even high school parties, having money, like, there's just a lot of temptation, right? And I feel like distractions, right? And that's when the enemy is working his best, because we're not every day, we're around the grandparents and, mom and dad obviously being separated. So it's like, you're here, you're there, So I think it's just about trying to balance it, right? As long as every day you can kind of say, hey, you talk to the Lord. Only like, right? Yeah. We can sit here and say our stories and, no, this is why, and you need to do this. And like, it's like, you're going to do it at your time, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing, like if you can go black and blue in the face and tell you, this is why you need to approach it this way, right? As dad, or vice versa as coach. But at the end of the day, it's only going to be what Adam wants to take in from what the coach version of dad, or the dad version, or what your actual coach tells you, or you had a bunch of different coaches, right? And so you're going to take every piece of every little information and training you've had, and that's what eventually, when you make a decision at the plate, that's you're making yourself Adam. And so I think when you say, oh, hey, I'm Adam, or I'm Louie, or I'm Mario, I think if we bring a little bit of the Lord with us every day and we can show ourselves, I feel like people can't, because when you think of the Lord, you think of love. So you move with love, right? You can sit here and give people, oh, your podcast is boring, or, oh, you're never going to make it, bro. You're from Mendota, or, oh, this, that, right? It's all the negativity, bro. That's everywhere. That's at Good Guys. That's at the sheriff department. That's at, Sun Run, little knick-knack, the sports world. Think of baseball world. How some of the parents, so they make their own rules, bro. They make their own little politics, and it just separates. I'm pretty sure all you and your friends just want to go have fun sometime.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure you guys feel hey, we better go get north. We better go get that dub. Like, it reminds me of, like, where you're in now is like kind of remember the Titans? Remember when the cop pulls up on the guy?
Julius?
I've never watched.
Oh, you're too young, my boy. But
I feel like a failure as a father because my son has not watched.
You never watched it?
He asked me that, and I was like, I've never watched it.
I was like, bro, you haven't watched Remember the Titans? I was like,
boy. What? You're 0 for 1 for sure. All right? That's crazy. You got to watch that movie. But anyway, so there's a part in the movie, and Julius is walking to his homie's house. The cop rolls up.
It's segregated.
Yeah, so like back then it was like black and white.
Yeah.
So he's a black dude walking in a white neighborhood. Okay. So the cop pulls up on him. He's officer, right? And he's all like, best damn defense I've seen in 20 years. And he's like, thank you. He's like, you boys gonna win on Friday? Like, yes, sir. Carry on, right? Just jam. But that would have never happened without sports, right?
Right, yeah.
So I'm saying, like, I forgot why we were talking about the story, but it's just funny because that was just you not knowing that, but that's what it's about,
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool. I think, like, that you have that effect now that where you're at over there. Like, people look up to you. I'm pretty sure. Oh, I brought it. It was about parents.
Mm-hmm.
So parents kind of like, we can get a little
add pressure.
Yeah, and then obviously you always want it to be fun, but sometimes it could be kind of a little rough as far as the rivalry, right? Especially if it's 8-1 versus 9-0. Sounds kind of interesting, kind of like hyping it up right here, because we could try to get the live to go a little bigger or something. Maybe. I don't want to oversay and then I don't even go. It's hard.
We embrace it.
Yeah, that's cool.
The guys,
I think if you've gotten to that point, you're built for it. You know what I mean? Like, there's different levels to this. And if you're playing on that level, Like you've kind of been, you've been cultured. Like you've been programmed that way. You've had enough of it, So, it's a different, I mean, travel ball parents, bro. Like we're the worst, Like just
that's a whole other podcast in itself.
So, but yeah, no, I think just for the boys to be able to go out and have fun and just embrace the moment, embrace the opportunities.
Yeah, because we're about an hour and a half now in now. So, I mean, I thought it was pretty, not for your first time. It wasn't too, I mean, how'd you feel? It wasn't like, questions, but not too crazy, right?
Oh, yeah. It was good.
And I tried to keep you in enough. I didn't want, like I said, we can go off and talk quick. That's why I feel like Tuesday would be more of like a dad thing,
Oh, yeah.
But now I'm trying to kind of keep it directly about you. And, I mean, do you have anything else you want to say? Or do you have anything you want to touch on before we kind of go off and to the next time, because I'm saying I'm trying to make it more of like a season,
Yeah.
and I think the goal at the end of this season 1 is I'll have everyone that I brought on, and I'll do like a big barbecue and have everyone kind of link up and can talk about, this is what I experienced, or
This is the inaugural season right now.
Yeah, you're in a part of
you're part of history, bro.
if it gets big, bro, yeah, I mean, and then later on, like I said, if you, dude, I have so much faith that I could turn into one day maybe having Josh Allen on.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe one day having big time comedians, actors, these other people that are influencers that are pushing, the Lord. Because at the end of the day, it's about my message, right? So it's about, giving back and pushing God's word, and just letting them know, like, it's in you. Your parents instill it in you, right? And you're successful, but obviously there's trials, right? There's still issues, and where your faith is in the Lord, right? And just kind of that, and just kind of push that, and that people just know, like, we all struggle. They because they see I'm pretty sure you post a picture, bro, and sweat, and you're right there smiling, and you got all these things, and people look like, man, that guy's so lucky, but they look at luck. They don't look at the hard work.
Yeah.
The 7 days a week, 365, going out to the extra BP, or being in the Dominican, or traveling, or those hot days. They don't see all that. They just see, like, damn, he's over there at Buchanan, but all that went into it, So I just think that's kind of cool to be able to show people that, right? And then depending on who else comes on, I mean, I reached out to that dude, the other podcaster. Remember the one that Jason went on his podcast?
Oh, yeah.
So I think Jason said he said yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, and then once I just want to get an X amount of people for the season, and then, like I said, we'll go over it later, and then maybe the next time around you kind of like talk about wherever you're at then, and then.
Well, that's why, I mean, I was excited, for this opportunity for him, is just because, I know your message, and I know that you're trying to use this for God's glory. And that's one of the things, like, we go back to with Adam. Like, I've been always trying to, like, make sure that he understands, like, his life is for God's glory. Unfortunately, we lost a brother this last week, and he was a big part of our church. And my dad said something today in the service that, he said he fulfilled his purpose.
Yeah.
And it was his time. God said, this is it. Like, up to, like, but he, like, those words, because you felt it, you saw it through his lifestyle, you saw it through his actions. My dad was able to confidently say in front of a congregation, like, he fulfilled his purpose. And that resonated with me, because I hope more than anything, when I die, when he dies, or whatever, should we be taken away, the one thing you want people to be able to say about you is he fulfilled his purpose.
Yeah.
Whatever it was that God called him to do or to be.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a big thing.
That's huge. And I thought it was just so fitting, hearing that this morning, and then knowing that, after church we were going to come here and do this, and your message and what you're trying to do, like, with everything that we do, with every step we take, with every decision we make, are we fulfilling God's purpose? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's cool. And I'm obviously, I want to embrace that. You know, that's a new mental challenge for me, especially going into the week. Like, I've already, you know, okay, what's my purpose? What am I doing? How am I going to do that? You know, like, how do I check off what boxes need to be checked off so that I know people feel that way about me and what I'm doing in my life. So, with Adam, you know, and the stuff that he has going on, obviously that's something that I want him to be able to do too. You know, I want him to be able to check off his boxes. What's my purpose? You know, what am I doing in life? What are my goals? And then am I doing that? You know, and just making sure that he, you know, maintains that thing with God. Like, okay, this is my thing with God, and this is where I think I need to be at in relation to God's will for my life. You know, so yeah, that was big. That was big for, you know, it's been heavy. Obviously, this was a rough weekend for us. It's out of the blue, you know. So, but I really think that, you know, this podcast is going to be a huge blessing, and I believe in it. You know, I've told you that, and I believe in the message, and I believe in God using anything. You know, the Bible talks about God using rocks and donkeys and whatever he needs to get his point across.
Yeah.
And I mean, what better way than to use technology, which, you know, for a long time the church said was the devil itself, because it can be used for such negativity.
Yeah.
You know, for you to be able to say, hey, I'm going to turn all of this technology, phones and internet and, you know, everything, to say, I'm going to use this now to push God's message, and I'm going to use this now for God's glory. Like, you know, I mean, who's not going to get behind that?
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, when you put it that way, yeah, you would hope, right? Because, I mean, I know I'm still going to get...
I just, like, for me, I hope, you know, whoever's listening, and like you said, it could be 10 people, it could be 1,000 people, but yeah. I hope that whoever is listening, I hope that it impacts those people, and I hope that they get something out of it.
Oh, for sure.
And not just this episode, but every episode.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's, you know, that's the whole point of it. So, but that kind of tying in, no, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, even if it's just one.
Yeah, no. And with that being tied in, I'll kind of like, I like to end the podcast kind of with the verse that we started with, right?
Yeah.
And so it kind of goes back to Romans 7:15. I don't really understand myself, for I want to do what is right, but I don't do it. Instead, I do what I hate, which is sin, right? So, I mean, I guess we kind of touched on a little bit about that. Like, I mean, there's stuff that we're never going to be perfect, bro. It's never going to be. We're not God, right? But it's like, I felt like that resonated in me, because I feel like I still do sin, right? I mean, I'm not perfect, but I'm trying to be as obedient as I can. So I just feel like it's nothing that I'm going to do that's going to please God, right? It's the fact that I've given myself to him, right? And all I can do is just hope for his grace for my life, because he's going to take his hand off. And I feel like as long as we reap what we sow, like, right, your dad said it, we kind of reap what we sow. So if our heart is good and our intentions are good, then people are going to see that through time, you know? So I feel like me pushing my podcast is not necessarily like, oh, I have to push my podcast. I feel like when they see the messages, they'll understand, like, okay, like, man, this guy's really trying to do something, you know? And that's what I am trying to do. So I feel like it being acknowledged will eventually come to pass, right? So it comes back, tying it back down to the third time I'm going to say it is my favorite verse, Isaiah 60:22. So when the time is right, the Lord will make it happen. And I feel like when he wants to bless me, which he already has, but when he wants to bless the podcast, I think the viewers will come, the followers will come, and the interviews will come, and then the messages will come. More importantly, the messages. I can't just bring people on and then just come on and talk and then not give something, you know? Yeah, we're going to conversate, but I'm not going to just force God down your throat. But I'm going to, like, go over something and then kind of just relay it as far as, like, this is what it came to me, you know. I just don't want to be that pushy Christian, you know, because I feel like that didn't help me when I was not a believer, right? That kind of, like, actually what pushed me away. So I feel like with me, when they see me, I just want them to see, like, generally God, you know, like, I mean, I was never like this, right? I never was like this type of person. You kind of grow up seeing me a little through time, and it's like, when would you ever thought like, oh, Louis gonna bring me on a podcast and talk about God? Like, probably, very less chances, And I say failure at 7 out of 10 times. It's more like a 97 out of 98 out of 100 is probably not gonna happen, right? So it's just kind of cool to see, and I'm blessed for it, So with that being said, if you guys have anything else to say, I mean, we can kind of end it.
Yeah, we're good.
We're good?
I just want to say thank you. again.
For sure. Thank you guys for coming on. And we'll try to be out there Tuesday, Wednesday, or Friday to check out that big rivalry, Clovis North versus Buchanan, right?
Yeah, big
and
one.
see who's going to kind of take over the big boy spot in D1. Well, good. I don't like to say good luck no more as a Christian, but I just feel like be blessed,
Yeah.
All right, bro. We out of here.